Dr. Samantha Chen stared at the holographic display, her heart pounding in her chest. The swarm of red dots representing the Xeraxian fleet inched closer to Earth with each passing second. She turned to face the grim expressions of her colleagues in the underground facility known only as the Hive. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment, "we're out of time. The Xeraxians will reach our solar system in less than 72 hours. It's now or never." General Marcus Hawthorne, a battle-hardened veteran with more than a few scars to show for it, stepped forward. "Dr. Chen, I need to know. Is Project Phoenix ready?" Samantha took a deep breath. "As ready as it'll ever be, General. We've pushed the boundaries of physics, biology, and computer science further than I thought possible. But we haven't had time to test everything thoroughly. There are still so many unknowns." "Unknown is better than certain annihilation," Hawthorne replied grimly. "You've seen the intel. The Xeraxians have conquered a dozen worlds. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. If Project Phoenix fails, Earth falls." The room fell silent, the weight of their responsibility pressing down on every soul present. Dr. Raj Patel, the team's resident AI expert, spoke up. "We've done all we can to prepare. The neural network is primed and ready. Every satellite, every piece of technology on Earth is now part of one giant, adaptive defense system. It's just waiting for the signal to activate." "And the biological components?" Hawthorne asked, turning to Dr. Elena Volkov, the team's geneticist. Elena nodded, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of pride and apprehension. "The gene-modified pilots are as ready as they'll ever be. Their neural interfaces are stable, and their enhanced reflexes and decision-making capabilities are off the charts. They're our best hope for managing the swarm tactics we've developed." Samantha looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each team member. Brilliant minds from every corner of the globe, working tirelessly for the past 5 years since the Xeraxian threat was first detected. They had poured their hearts and souls into Project Phoenix, sacrificing everything for this moment. "What about public knowledge?" she asked, turning back to General Hawthorne. "Does the world know what's coming?" Hawthorne's expression darkened. "The UN Security Council is informing world leaders as we speak. A public announcement will be made in the next few hours. We expect widespread panic, but we've prepared as best we can. Emergency protocols are being activated globally." Dr. Chen nodded, then walked over to a secure terminal. She placed her hand on the biometric scanner, and a series of complex codes appeared on the screen. "I'm initiating the final countdown for Project Phoenix. Once it's active, there's no going back. The AI will begin its work, and our modified defense systems will come online." She looked up at her team, her finger hovering over the activation key. "Any objections? Last chance to voice them." The room remained silent, faces set with determination. Samantha nodded and pressed her finger to the screen. A low hum filled the facility as servers whirred to life, and the holographic display shifted, showing a web of connections spreading across the globe. "It's done," she announced. "May whatever gods exist have mercy on us all." As the team dispersed to their stations, Samantha felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see General Hawthorne, his eyes softer than she'd ever seen them. "You've done good, Dr. Chen," he said quietly. "Your father would be proud." Samantha swallowed hard, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill. Her father, the renowned physicist Dr. William Chen, had been the one to first detect the Xeraxian threat. He died in a suspicious accident shortly after, but not before passing on crucial information to Samantha. His last words echoed in her mind. "They're coming, Sam. You have to prepare. Earth's fate is in your hands." "Thank you, General," she managed to reply. "But our work is far from over." As they made their way to the command center, alarms began to blare. A young lieutenant rushed up to them, his face pale. "Sir, ma'am, you need to see this." They hurried to the main view screen, where a sight that would be forever etched in human history unfolded before them. The moon, Earth's faithful satellite for billions of years, was changing. Its surface rippled like water, and slowly, impossibly, it began to unfold. Gasps and murmurs of awe filled the command center as the moon transformed. Sections of its surface split apart, revealing massive structures beneath. Enormous cannons emerged, alongside hangar bays large enough to house entire fleets. What had once been a barren rock was now a fortress, a sentinel standing guard over Earth. "My God," Hawthorne whispered. It actually worked. Samantha felt a mix of triumph and terror. Project Phoenix had exceeded even her wildest expectations. The Xeraxians were in for a surprise, but at what cost? As she watched Earth's first line of defense take shape, Dr. Samantha Chen couldn't help but wonder, in their quest to save humanity, had they changed it irrevocably? The next 72 hours would determine the fate of not just Earth, but the very essence of what it meant to be human. As the transformed moon cast its shadow over the planet, humanity held its breath, waiting for the arrival of their would-be conquerors. The stage was set for a battle that would echo through the ages. Little did the Xeraxians know, they were about to face an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. An enemy that had turned its entire planet into a weapon. An enemy that had rewritten the rules of warfare. They were about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate the human spirit when its back is against the wall. As the first Xeraxian ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, Earth stood ready. The game was about to begin. The deception. Supreme Commander Zoxidar of the Xeraxian Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship. The inevitable conquest, his 4 eyes narrowed as he surveyed the holographic display of the Sol system. The blue-green pearl of Earth hung suspended in the void, seemingly defenseless against the might of his armada. "Status report," he barked, his gravelly voice echoing through the command deck. Sub-Commander Vexlar stepped forward, mandibles clicking nervously. "My lord, our long-range scans show minimal defensive capabilities. The humans appear to have a small fleet of primitive spacecraft in orbit and some rudimentary weapon installations on their moon." Zoxidar's upper lip curled in a sneer. "Pathetic. They've had 5 cycles to prepare since we announced our coming, and this is the best they can muster." He turned to his strategic advisor, Krellthorn. "Your assessment." Krellthorn's cybernetic eye whirred as it processed the data. "The humans are known for their unpredictability, my lord. This could be a trap." "A trap?" Zoxidar laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "With what?" "Their projectile weapons and combustion engines." He waved a dismissive hand. "No, they are simply primitive. This conquest will be over before it begins." As the Xeraxian fleet approached Earth's orbit, activity on the planet below reached a fever pitch. In the hive, Dr. Samantha Chen and her team worked tirelessly, monitoring every aspect of their grand deception. "Status on the holographic fleet?" Samantha asked, her eyes never leaving the main screen. Dr. Raj Patel's fingers flew over his console. "Holding steady, Dr. Chen. The Xeraxians are seeing exactly what we want them to see. As far as they know, we've got nothing but a handful of outdated satellites and a few clunky shuttles." General Hawthorne nodded approvingly. "Good. The more overconfident they are, the harder they'll fall." He turned to Elena Volkov. "How are our pilots doing?" Elena's face was illuminated by the glow of her biomonitors. "Vital signs are strong. The neural interfaces are functioning perfectly. They're ready to deploy on your command." Samantha took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "All right, let's move to Phase 2. Raj, initiate the bait protocol." On her command, the holographic fleet of Earth's primitive defenses began to move. Clumsy and uncoordinated, they appeared to be attempting to form a defensive line around the planet. To the Xeraxians, it must have looked like a child's game compared to their sleek, advanced warships. Back on the inevitable conquest, Zoxidar watched with growing amusement as Earth's defenses scrambled to meet them. "Look at them," he chuckled, "like insects scurrying before the storm." Vexillar, however, seemed uneasy. My lord, don't you find it strange? They've had years to prepare, yet this is all they've managed. Zoxidar's amusement turned to irritation. Are you questioning my judgment, Sub-Commander? Or perhaps you believe these humans are capable of deceiving the might of the Xeraxian Empire? And no, my lord, Vexlar stammered. It's just enough. Zoxidar roared. I will hear no more of this cowardice. Prepare the fleet for attack formation. We'll swat these human toys from the sky and claim this world for the glory of Xerax. As the Xeraxian fleet arranged itself into an attack formation, tension in the hive reached a breaking point. Samantha's knuckles were white as she gripped the edge of her console. They're taking the bait, she whispered. Raj, status on the lunar defense grid. Fully operational and hidden, Dr. Chen. The Xeraxians haven't detected a thing. General Hawthorne's voice was grim as he gave the order they'd all been waiting for. All personnel, prepare for engagement. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Throughout the underground facility, klaxons blared. The genetically enhanced pilots rushed to their interfaces, their minds melding with the AI-driven defense systems. On the surface, disguised launch bays hidden in mundane structures, skyscrapers, stadiums, even mountain ranges, prepared to reveal their true nature. In orbit, the holographic fleet continued its clumsy maneuvers, drawing the Xeraxian armada closer. Zoxidar's voice boomed across the command channel of his fleet. All ships, commence attack. Show these primitives the futility of their resistance. The first salvos from the Xeraxian ships lanced out, passing harmlessly through the holographic Earth vessels. For a moment, confusion reigned on the inevitable Conquest's bridge. My lord, Vexlar cried. Our weapons, they're not having any effect. Zoxidar's confusion quickly turned to rage. What treachery is this? Krell Thorn, explain. But before the strategic advisor could respond, the true nature of Earth's defenses began to reveal itself. The moon, which had appeared nothing more than a cratered satellite, suddenly came alive. Massive cannons emerged from hidden bunkers, while swarms of sleek, dart-like ships poured from concealed hangars. On Earth, the landscape itself seemed to shift. Mountains opened to reveal missile silos, city blocks transformed into launch pads, and the oceans churned as submersible carriers surfaced. In the hive, Samantha Chen allowed herself a small, grim smile. Deception complete, she announced. Commence Operation Phoenix Rising. As the stunned Xeraxian fleet scrambled to regroup, Earth's real defenses roared to life. The trap was sprung, and the true battle for humanity's survival was about to begin. Zoxidar, his earlier bravado evaporated, could only watch in growing horror as the full might of Earth's ingenuity revealed itself. By the eternal void, he breathed. What have we done? The answer came in a hail of advanced weaponry unlike anything the Xeraxians had ever encountered. Humanity's counterattack had begun, and the invaders were about to learn the cost of their arrogance. As energy beams and swarms of autonomous fighters surged towards the Xeraxian fleet, one thing became crystal clear. The humans were not the primitive, easy conquest Zoxidar had anticipated. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the battle for Earth would be anything but simple. The revelation. The void of space erupted into a dazzling display of destruction as Earth's true defenses engaged the Xeraxian fleet. Beams of concentrated energy sliced through the invaders' ships, while swarms of AI-driven fighters darted between the massive alien vessels, exploiting weaknesses with terrifying precision. In the hive, Dr. Samantha Chen watched the battle unfold with a mixture of awe and trepidation. The holographic display showed a whirlwind of activity. Earth's forces, represented by blue icons, danced around the red markers of the Xeraxian ships in an intricate ballet of warfare. It's working, Dr. Raj Patil exclaimed, his eyes wide with disbelief. The neural network is adapting faster than we could have hoped. It's predicting Xeraxian maneuvers before they even execute them. General Hawthorne nodded grimly. Don't celebrate yet. We've surprised them. But the Xeraxians didn't conquer half the galaxy by being pushovers. This is far from over. As if to underscore his point, the Xeraxian fleet began to regroup. Their initial shock wore off, replaced by the cold efficiency that had made them the terror of countless worlds. Aboard the inevitable conquest, Supreme Commander Zoxidar snarled orders to his frazzled crew. Reconfigure our shields to adapt to their energy weapons. Launch all fighter squadrons. I want that lunar base obliterated. Sub-Commander Vexlar's hands flew over his console. My lord, we're detecting some kind of collective intelligence guiding the human forces. Our standard tactics are proving ineffective. Impossible, Zoxidar roared. No species we've encountered has developed such technology. Krell Thorn, analysis. The cybernetic strategist's eye whirred as it processed the battle data. It appears, my lord, that we have grievously underestimated the humans' capabilities. They've merged biological intuition with artificial intelligence, creating a hybrid system that's evolving as we speak. For the first time in his long, bloody career, Zoxidar felt a twinge of fear, but it was quickly subsumed by rage. I will not be defeated by these upstart primates. Prepare the Void Cleaver. Back on Earth, alarms blared through the hive. Dr. Elena Volkov's face paled as she read the incoming data. Dr. Chen, we're detecting a massive energy buildup in the Xeraxian flagship. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Samantha's mind raced. General, we need to take out that ship before they can deploy whatever weapon they're charging. Raj, can we redirect the lunar cannons? Raj shook his head. The moon base is fully engaged, keeping their fighter squadrons at bay. We don't have the firepower to penetrate their flagship's shields. A tense silence fell over the command center. Then, a quiet voice spoke up. We do have one option. All eyes turned to Dr. Marcus Reeves, the team's quantum physicist. Project Jormungandr. Samantha's breath caught in her throat. Marcus, no, it's not ready. The risks are less than the certainty of defeat if we do nothing, Marcus finished. He met Samantha's gaze, his eyes filled with determination. I'll pilot it myself. General Hawthorne stepped forward. Someone want to fill me in on this Project Jormungandr? Marcus explained quickly. It's a quantum tunneling device. In theory, it can open a localized wormhole, allowing us to bypass the Xeraxian shields entirely. But it's highly experimental, and the pilot might not survive the transit, Samantha finished, her voice barely a whisper. The general's face hardened. It's your call, Dr. Chen. We're running out of options. Samantha closed her eyes, the weight of the decision crushing down on her. When she opened them, there was steel in her gaze. Do it, but I'm going with you, Marcus. As preparations for the desperate mission began, the battle raged on in space. Earth's forces fought valiantly, but the tide was beginning to turn. The Xeraxians' superior numbers were starting to tell, and the human defenders were being pushed back. In a hidden hangar deep beneath the Earth's surface, Samantha and Marcus climbed into the sleek, experimental craft that housed Project Jormungandr. The ship hummed with barely contained energy, the quantum core pulsing with otherworldly light. Final checks complete, Marcus announced, his voice tight with tension. Jormungandr is online. Quantum tunneling sequence initiating. As the hangar doors opened above them, Samantha took one last look at the planet she'd sworn to protect. Whatever happens, Marcus, it's been an honor. The ship shot upward, quickly breaking through the atmosphere. As they approached the chaotic battlefield, the Xeraxian flagship loomed before them, its hull crackling with deadly energy. They've spotted us, Marcus said, his hands dancing over the controls. Initiating quantum jump in 3, 2, 1. The universe seemed to fold in on itself. Samantha felt as if her very atoms were being pulled apart and reassembled. There was a moment of absolute darkness, then a blinding flash. And suddenly, they were inside the Xeraxian flagship. Alarms blared as the alien crew reacted to the impossible appearance of a human ship in their midst. Samantha and Marcus worked feverishly, planting quantum charges around the ship's core. "We've got incoming," Samantha yelled, spotting a squad of Ziraxian soldiers rushing towards them. Marcus finished arming the last charge. "It's done. Let's go." They dove back into the Jormungandr just as energy blasts sizzled past them. Marcus activated the quantum drive once more, and the world twisted around them. They reappeared outside the Ziraxian ship, streaking away at impossible speeds. Behind them, the charges detonated, but instead of an explosion, there was an implosion. A miniature black hole blossomed in the heart of the inevitable conquest, quickly consuming the massive ship from within. As the Ziraxian flagship collapsed in on itself, a shockwave of disbelief rippled through the invading fleet. The seemingly invincible warship, pride of the Ziraxian Armada, was gone in an instant. Supreme Commander Zoxidar, who had barely managed to escape in a life pod, watched in disbelief as his grand invasion crumbled around him. The humans, those primitive beings he had so grievously underestimated, had not only stood against the might of the Ziraxian Empire, they had struck a blow that would echo across the galaxy. As the tide of battle decisively turned in Earth's favor, Samantha and Marcus guided their battered ship back to the planet. The revelation of humanity's true strength had been made, and the Ziraxians were facing a foe unlike any they had ever encountered. The battle was far from over, but for the first time since the invasion began, hope blossomed in the hearts of Earth's defenders. They had revealed their hand, and the galaxy would never be the same. The counterattack. The destruction of the inevitable conquest sent shockwaves through the Ziraxian fleet. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the invaders found themselves on the back foot, reeling from a blow they never saw coming. In the hive, a battered but triumphant Samantha Chen and Marcus Reeves were greeted with a chorus of cheers as they stumbled out of the Jormungandr. General Hawthorne approached them, his usually stern face split by a rare smile. "Outstanding work, both of you," he said, clapping them on the shoulders. "You've given us a fighting chance." Samantha nodded wearily. "Thank you, General, but we can't let up now. The Ziraxians are wounded, but they're far from beaten." As if to underscore her point, alarms began blaring throughout the command center. Dr. Raj Patel's voice cut through the chaos. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected. "It's the Ziraxian Reserve Fleet." The jubilation in the room evaporated instantly. On the main display, a swarm of red dots materialized at the edge of the solar system. Fresh Ziraxian warships, summoned by Zoxidar's distress call. General Hawthorne's face hardened. "How long until they reach Earth?" "At their current speed, less than 6 hours," Raj replied grimly. Samantha's mind raced. "We can't win a war of attrition. We need to end this now, before their reinforcements arrive." She turned to Elena Volkov. "Elena, what's the status of Project Hydra?" The geneticist's eyes widened. "It's operational, but we haven't had time to run full safety protocols." "The risks are less than the certainty of defeat if we do nothing," Samantha finished, echoing Marcus's earlier words. "We're out of options and out of time. Bring it online." As Elena hurried to comply, Samantha addressed the room. "Listen up, everyone. We've bloodied their nose, but now comes the real test. Project Hydra is our last, best hope. If it works, we can end this war today. If it doesn't..." She left the sentence hanging, the implications clear to all. In the depths of the hive, a massive chamber hummed to life. Banks of servers lined the walls, their combined processing power rivaling that of a small star. At the center stood a single, unassuming terminal. Elena's fingers flew over the keyboard, initiating the startup sequence. Project Hydra is online. Commencing neural uplink. Across the globe, every human-piloted defense system suddenly pulsed with new energy. The pilots gasped as their minds expanded, connecting not just with their individual crafts, but with every weapon in Earth's arsenal. Satellites, drones, starfighters, and even the mighty lunar cannons all became extensions of a single vast consciousness. In orbit, the remaining Zaraxian ships found themselves facing an enemy that moved with impossible coordination. Human forces that had been fighting valiantly but disjointedly now operated as a single, terrifyingly efficient organism. Aboard his new command ship, Zoxidar watched in growing horror as his fleet was slowly but surely dismantled. "What sorcery is this?" he snarled. "How are they anticipating our every move?" Krellthorn's cybernetic eye whirred frantically. "My lord, I'm detecting a massive increase in neural activity across the human forces. It's as if they've merged into a single entity." On Earth, Samantha stood before the Project Hydra terminal, her hand hovering over the final activation switch. "This is Dr. Samantha Chen to all Earth Defense Forces," she broadcast. "What you're experiencing is Project Hydra, a global neural network linking every human mind engaged in this battle. You are now part of something greater than yourself. Together, we are humanity's last line of defense. Let's show these invaders why they should never have underestimated us." With that, she flipped the switch. The effect was immediate and devastating. Earth's counterattack surged forward with renewed vigor. Fighters moved in perfect synchronization, weaving impossible patterns through the Zaraxian formations. The lunar cannons fired in precisely timed salvos, herding enemy ships into killing zones where swarms of drones waited to strike. But the true power of Project Hydra lay not just in its coordination, but in its adaptability. As the Zaraxians attempted to adjust their tactics, the human neural network evolved in real time, always staying one step ahead. Zoxidar watched helplessly as his mighty armada was reduced to scattered remnants. "Retreat," he finally croaked, his pride warring with his instinct for survival. "All ships, fall back to the rendezvous point. We'll regroup with the reserve fleet and—" His words were cut short as a precision strike from the lunar base obliterated his command ship's engines. Across what remained of the Zaraxian fleet, similar surgical strikes disabled ship after ship. In the hive, Samantha allowed herself a grim smile. "We've got them. Commence final phase." Earth's forces pressed their advantage, herding the crippled Zaraxian ships into a tight cluster. Those that could still flee turned tail and ran, abandoning their comrades in a desperate bid for survival. As the last of the invading ships were either captured or destroyed, a cheer went up from defense installations across the globe. Humanity had done the impossible. They had repelled an invasion by the most feared conquerors in the galaxy. But even as the celebration began, Samantha Chen's eyes remained fixed on the long-range scanners. The Zaraxian reserve fleet was still out there, and this war was far from over. The true test of humanity's resolve, and the full power of Project Hydra, was yet to come. In the eerie calm following the battle, Earth prepared for the final confrontation. The fate of humanity would be decided in the next few hours, and the galaxy would never be the same. The aftermath. The solar system hung in an uneasy silence. The debris of shattered Zaraxian warships drifted in Earth's orbit, a somber reminder of the battle's cost. In the hive, Dr. Samantha Chen stood before the holographic display, her eyes fixed on the approaching red mass of the Zaraxian reserve fleet. "Time to intercept," she asked, her voice hoarse from hours of giving orders. 3 hours, 17 minutes, Raj replied, his fingers dancing over his console. "Project Hydra is still online, but we're seeing signs of strain in the neural network. We can't maintain this level of integration indefinitely." General Hawthorne stepped forward, his face grim. "Then we end this now. Dr. Chen, what are our options?" Samantha took a deep breath, weighing the possibilities. "We've shown them we're not the easy prey they thought we were. Maybe it's time we tried diplomacy." Elena Volkov looked up from her biomonitors, surprise etched on her face. "Diplomacy, after everything they've done. Sometimes the best way to win a war is to convince your enemy it's not worth fighting," Samantha replied. She turned to Marcus. "Reeves, is the Jormungandr ready for another jump?" Marcus nodded, a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. You want to pay the Xeraxian command ship a visit? Not me, Samantha said, shaking her head. We need someone with the authority to speak for Earth, someone they'll have to listen to. She looked pointedly at General Hawthorne. The general's eyebrows shot up. You can't be serious. You want me to teleport onto an alien warship? With a full neural link to Project Hydra, Samantha added. You'll have the combined knowledge and strategic insight of every human mind in the network. If anyone can convince them to stand down, it's you. Hawthorne was silent for a long moment, then nodded sharply. All right, Dr. Chen. Let's do this. As preparations were made for the desperate gambit, the tension in the hive was palpable. This was humanity's last throw of the dice. If it failed, Earth would face the full might of a vengeful Xeraxian empire. Aboard the Xeraxian command ship Unyielding Dominion, Fleet Admiral Zex Korist seethed with barely contained rage. The reports from the first wave of the invasion were almost incomprehensible. How had these primitive humans managed to destroy nearly half of the Xeraxian armada? My lord, a subordinate called out, we're detecting a quantum disturbance within the ship. Before Zexcora could respond, a blinding flash filled the bridge. When it faded, a single human stood before them, clad in a strange suit that pulsed with energy. I am General Marcus Hawthorne of Earth, the human announced, his voice somehow carrying the weight of billions. I've come to negotiate the terms of your surrender. The Xeraxian bridge erupted in incredulous laughter, but Zexcora held up a hand for silence. There was something in the human's eyes, a certainty that gave the Admiral pause. You dare to speak of our surrender? Zexcora hissed. We have enough firepower in this fleet to reduce your world to ash. Hawthorne nodded gravely. You do. And in doing so, you'd lose more than half your remaining ships. You've seen what we can do, Admiral. Ask yourself, is this conquest worth the cost? With a thought, Hawthorne activated a holographic display, showing the full extent of Earth's defenses, including several weapons platforms that had remained hidden until now. We've studied your empire, Admiral, Hawthorne continued. We know you're overstretched, facing rebellions on a dozen worlds. Can you afford a Pyrrhic victory here, or would you rather gain an ally? Zexcora's eyes narrowed. An ally? You expect us to believe you'd align with us after we tried to conquer you. Not an alliance of subjugation, Hawthorne clarified, but a mutual agreement. We have technologies you've never seen before. Imagine what we could achieve together, as equals, rather than as conquerors and conquered. For long moments, silence reigned on the bridge. Then, slowly, Zexcora nodded. You have my attention, human. Let us talk. Back on Earth, the inhabitants of the hive watched the negotiations unfold through Hawthorne's neural link. Hours passed in tense discussion, proposals and counter-proposals flying back and forth. Finally, Hawthorne's voice came through the comm system. Dr. Chen, prepare a formal reception. The Xeraxian leadership is coming to Earth as guests, not conquerors. A collective sigh of relief echoed through the hive. As the news spread across the globe, celebrations erupted. Humanity had faced its greatest test and emerged not just victorious, but on the cusp of a new era. Days later, as the Xeraxian delegates signed the Treaty of Seoul, establishing peace and cooperation between Earth and the Xeraxian Empire, Samantha Chen stood on a balcony overlooking the proceedings. We did it, Marcus said, joining her. We saved the world. Samantha nodded, her eyes on the horizon where Xeraxian ships now floated peacefully alongside human vessels. We did more than that. We've changed the course of galactic history. As the sun set on this new chapter of human existence, Samantha couldn't help but wonder what challenges and adventures awaited them among the stars. They had been underestimated once, but never again. Humanity had proven its worth, and the universe would never be the same. In the depths of space, on worlds yet unknown, news of the Xeraxian defeat spread like wildfire. Earth, once thought to be an insignificant blue dot, had become a beacon of hope for oppressed species across the galaxy. The age of Ziraxian dominance was over. A new era had begun, and humanity was ready to take its place among the stars.